On my last cruise, Cunard Queen Anne, I never ate in the buffet restaurant once. But on a recent Holland America cruise, I ate only lunch in there every day. But on my Royal Caribbean Symphony of the Seas, I ate pretty much all of my meals there. Why so different? It's because I have a set of cruise buffet rules that I've developed over time that determine when I eat in the buffet, how I use it if I do, and what I will and won't eat in there. Now, after talking to other regular cruisers, I found they also follow a similar approach that I want to share with you because it is really interesting and very different. Welcome aboard. I'm Gary Bembridge, and the first thing I saw that smart cruisers never do is go to the buffet at the wrong time. They all choose really carefully when they do and don't use the buffet. For a start, smart cruisers generally don't go to the buffet for embarkation day lunch. Not only is it busy, but there are better options and things that can help you get ahead of the crowds by not eating there. There are always better alternatives that are less busy and offer, in fact, an elevated dining experience, whether you're on resort ships like Royal Caribbean or Carnival, right up to and including ultra-luxury lines like Regent Seven Seas or Silversea. The main dining room, if it's open, is one, and as I'll explain later, as well as having a calm atmosphere and a good menu, there are several key things that you should do while there on embarkation day to get ahead of the crowd on setting up a better dining experience for your entire cruise. If you have loyalty status, check if there is a special main dining room lunch and menu exclusively for you. Many lines do, and I've had them at various times on P&O Cruises, Princess, and even Celebrity in the past. If it's great weather, I may head up to the pool grill and have a burger like I did on that Holland America cruise I mentioned, or pizza, which they also have on the on-deck pizzeria. Specialty restaurants are sometimes open. Like whenever I go to Princess Cruises, I like to go to Alfredo's for their incredible pizza, as it's not as busy as the buffet. However, smart cruisers mostly go to the main dining room for embarkation day lunch instead of the buffet for two other key reasons. First of all, to make sure they have a great table if they're on fixed dining. So I always check if I've got my requested table size and the location. If I don't like either, because I'm one of the first to talk to the maitre d' about it, I can normally get it changed. For example, on that Cunard Queen Anne cruise I mentioned, I went to the main dining room that I was due to eat in for my every single meal, but I went there for my embarkation day lunchtime. They showed me to the table that I'd been allocated and I really didn't like it. But because I was there at lunchtime, I was able to get a much better table by being there for that lunch. The other reason is to get food allergy requirements sorted. The main dining room maitre d' is normally the person handling this and the one that you have to speak to at some time. Now, it's really important to do this because the buffet restaurant could be actually riskier for passengers with dietary issues, not only because it's sometimes hard to know which buffet items meet your dietary requirements because ingredients are generally not displayed, and often I found that the servers usually don't know either. Now, the maitre d' is there to assist and advise on how to handle all of this, so seeing them early on is really important. Now, as an aside linked to diet, many families tell me they use the buffet when there's a mix of fussy eaters in their party. Now, this is due to the range of food that you'll find at a buffet, and usually everyone can find something to eat. That's much more problematic with the main dining room menu. Smart cruisers also try to avoid other peak times at the buffet because it can get hectic and hard to find tables. For breakfast, that's usually kind of about an hour before the ship gets into port because people want to eat before reporting for excursions or heading out exploring. If open, I always use the main dining room. It's quieter, it's less frantic, or if not, I order room service. Lunch peaks between 12:30 to 1:30 p.m. when excursions all tend to arrive back or people self-exploring return to the ship to have lunch. So I tend to try and eat either before or after that. In the evenings, I often eat in the buffet to get more out of my evenings on board, especially on a mega ship like Symphony of the Seas, which have so many entertainments and lots of activities available. Eating in the buffet can take as little as, say, 15 minutes, but the main dining room is going to take 75 to 90 minutes. Eating in the buffet when I was on Symphony of the Seas meant that some evenings I could do, say, an early show like the ice skating, a later show like the aqua show or the theatre show. I could still go and listen to music, I could go to the casino, I could do one of the trivia events, or I could go to one of the parties, and I could do all of that in one night by going to the buffet. I also use the buffet way more for dinner on itineraries with long port days, like in the Western Mediterranean, where excursions to Rome and Pisa and Florence are often 8 to 10 hours long. The other thing, though, that I don't do when it comes to the buffet is see it as limiting my dining options. I think that smart cruisers agree with me that the buffet is not the limited dining option. In fact, it's usually a way to get way more choice than eating in the main dining room. The main dining room menu is relatively limited, while most buffets have an enormous and very diverse range of options. It's also often a chance to try more exotic foods than in the main dining room. Most evenings I find buffets across all lines offer a different international themed dining option. So I get to try Indian, Mexican, Asian, South American, French, Italian, and so on across one cruise. And many of them will also have sushi nightly, which I find impossible to get in the main dining room every evening. So a smart cruiser sees the buffet as a way of trying a way more diverse range of foods. As a tip too, I see smart cruisers always do a full circuit of the buffet before they make any choice to see the entire range of options and ensure that they don't miss out. Also, I do not see the buffet as an unhealthy way of dining on a cruise. I actually use the buffet to help me eat healthier and to control my diet. On most cruises, I usually mix in the buffet with the main dining room because I find I can get great salads, I can get light options, and I'm not tempted to do the full starter, main course and dessert meal every night, which I do if I go to the main dining room. The other thing missed and underappreciated by most passengers, but not smart cruisers, is that the buffet can be more than just a place to eat. It may be, in fact, the best place to eat on scenic itineraries. Most buffet restaurants are located high up and at the rear of the ship. They have floor-to-ceiling windows on all sides and an outdoor dining area overlooking the ship's wake, so offering views to most of the diners in there. Main dining rooms tend to be lower down, often with fewer or smaller windows, and at best a handful of people get to see the views. So when I'm cruising in scenic places, I dine in the buffet significantly more. For example, on past Alaska, Norwegian fjords, Greenland, Canadian Arctic, Antarctica, and French Polynesia, I used the buffet a lot to get sights while dining. The next area that smart cruisers never play loose with when it comes to eating in the buffet restaurant is hygiene, because of the risks. The buffet, in my view, does have more issues when it comes to hygiene and staying well than dining in the main dining room, due to just the way the food is prepared, the way it's stored, and the fact that it's self-service. In my view, the buffet is where passengers have a greater risk of getting ill, particularly with norovirus, which is the stomach bug which can lead to upset stomachs and even vomiting, because norovirus is spread by touch. So with lots of people handling the serving implements and items like condiments, there's room for basically cross-contamination. So smart cruisers approach the buffet with a degree of caution and always do hand washing when entering the buffet rather than using the sanitizer gel, because hand washing is proven significantly better than gel. One of the best lines for trying to keep buffets healthy, in my view, is Royal Caribbean. They have these large hand washing stations at the entrance. They have crew ensuring that people do it. But even on cruises not monitoring it, like that Queen Anne cruise I mentioned, while most people would just kind of head into the buffet, I saw smart cruisers stopping and washing their hands. I also tend to use buffets more on ships where the crew serve the food rather than it being self-service. That's why on lines like Oceania and that Holland America I mentioned, that I basically use the buffet more frequently because the crew serves the food. But when doing self-service, I always use the tongs and serving utensils. I don't mix them up to avoid cross-contaminating, such as vegetable dishes with meat dishes and so on. I never use my fingers to pick things up, even bread rolls and so on. I don't use my fingers to kind of dip in and taste sauces and dishes. I don't pick up food and put it back. And I watch out for people who do those things and basically avoid anything where I've seen that happen. If I'm getting a kind of a soft serve ice cream cone in the buffet, I've noticed that most people use their dominant hand. So if right-handed, they use their right hand to work the lever and serve the ice cream. Then they put the cone back into that same hand that they've been using the lever with. But with so many people touching that handle without it being wiped down, that's not a good idea. So I would, for example, use a paper napkin around the cone to minimize the risk. To both minimize the chance of not having the most hygienic experience from food that's been sitting around and to get the best taste experience, I also mostly go for the made to order dishes in a buffet. Cruise buffet food is prepared in bulk. It sits on those kind of steam tables or under lights to keep it warm. And once a tray of food is empty, it's kind of replaced with a fresh one. So made to order or watching for stuff that's just been made is better in my view. So for example, if I want sushi from the sushi station, I take sushi that's just been put out by the chef. The same with the pizza station. I don't take pre-cooked scrambled or fried eggs and order them at the made to order egg station, which most buffets have. At lunch, I focus on the sandwich, hamburger, pasta or stir-fry stations, again, because they make it to order. I steer well clear of the large bottles of ketchup, mustard and other condiments, as many people are touching those. I either ask the buffet staff to serve the condiments for me, or if they've got the individual self-serve condiment packets, I use those. If they're not available, I use a napkin when I'm dispensing what I need. And every time I go back to the buffet, by the way, I get new plates and new cutlery. Now, all this might sound a bit of overkill to you, but I've been fortunate because so far I've been on over 100 cruises and I've avoided getting norovirus, even on ships where there have been an outbreak. Another thing that the smart cruisers don't do is ignore the dress code. Now, many people do, of course, choose the buffet because the dress code around the ship doesn't apply there. So even on a line like, say, Cunard, with their stricter evening dress code, people can dress informally in the buffet, while the main dining room in the venues might be full of people with tuxedos and glamorous frocks. You can get away with, t-shirts and shorts. However, there still are rules. For example, smart cruisers would never go in swimwear or shirtless or without shoes into the buffet. If that's what smart cruisers do about the buffet, what about the main dining room? Well, join me over in this video where I explore about the do's and don'ts there, starting with the one big mistake most people make. See you over there.